Hello, everyone, and welcome. So we are here today to talk about something that every builder eventually faces, which is security audits. So for a lot of teams, I know security audits can kind of feel like this black box. You know you need one, you know it's important, but the actual process, what to expect, how to prepare, what happens if something goes wrong, what actually matters coming out of a security audit, that's where things can get fuzzy. So today I'm thrilled to bring together three Uniswap Hook Incubator alumni who've actually been through this process. So these are founders that have built different products, faced difficult challenges, but all of them navigated through what it looks like to actually get audited and come out the other side with a product to launch. Before we dive in, I want to go ahead and quickly set the table on why we're having this conversation and what the conversation will actually look like. So in addition to our three incredible alumni, we're also joined by Nihar from the team at Areta. And Areta runs a security audit marketplace that connects DeFi projects with auditors. They've also partnered with the Uniswap Foundation to offer a security fund that helps cover audit costs for eligible programs building on Uniswap. And it's how our three alumni today helped fund their audit process initially. So if you're thinking about building and also very well aware of the cost of audits or not sure where to start, this is definitely something that's worth paying attention to. And Nihar, I'd love if you could just start us off by giving kind of a quick overview of what Areta is, the broader security audit marketplace industry, and what we should know as we get started with this conversation.
100%. And let me start with the massive thanks to you for hosting this particular session. I think this is the most overused sentence from me for past year now, but I'm gonna use it once again and saying it loud that any project building on Uniswap v4 or generally broadly in the DeFi, security has to be of utmost important to them. And with being said that, I think this workshop in general is gonna be super helpful for any teams looking forward to building projects in a DeFi or on top of the Uniswap v4. For anybody who has joined today, welcome again from me. Quick about me. Hi, everyone. I'm Nihar. I'm an analyst at Areta. Together with Uniswap Foundation, we have been running Uniswap Foundation Security Fund as well as the security marketplace from more than a year now. The aim is clear that all the high quality early stage teams should have access to security without having a high cost in their mind, so that they have a clear pathway to the mainnet launch, and security never becomes an hurdle for them. Uniswap Foundation Security Fund supports early stage teams building on top of Uniswap v4 as well as Unichain, and possibly in coming days, teams building with the Uniswap trading APIs with their security audits up to 100% of the subsidized audits. So super excited for the workshop and looking forward to this chat. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nihar. And I want to take a moment to introduce our three panelists. So Brian, I'll actually start with you. What is GammaStrategies? What are you all currently focused on? And then the question I'd also love for you to answer is just how and when did you start thinking about getting an audit, needing an audit?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So GammaStrategies is an active liquidity manager on top of Uniswap v4. So we built liquidity management contracts, and we also built our own CLOB or centralized limit order book directly on Uniswap v4. In terms of when we started thinking about an audit, it's really, I wasn't the original founder of GammaStrategies, but, I joined as a business developer sometime in 2022. And I really seen the way that really bad smart contracts get exploited. Like our very own protocol got exploited 3 times, and it was due to very poor smart contract practices back then by the earlier founders. And so I want to make sure we never run into those issues ever again. So when I essentially took over the company, that I made sure we get multiple audits on every single piece of smart contract that we have. So yeah, as soon as I knew, I mean, it was just automatic for me. As soon as I knew we were writing smart contracts, I knew we had to get it audited. So it was, pretty much as soon as I knew I was going to write new contracts, I thought about the audit.
Amazing. Yeah. So sort of born out of hard lessons learned as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. And Yevhen, how about you? So what is Lumis? What are you all doing? And when did you start thinking, maybe I need an audit for Lumis?
Yes, thank you, Teresa, for having me. At Lumis, we are building different vaults on top of Uniswap V4, where the primary goal is to mitigate impermanent loss as much as possible. So it's also automated liquidity manager. And as for the audit, it's a typical situation in DeFi. As soon as we started to build a product, we've been thinking about audit, because it's before launch, it's probably the most important task that you need to do before actually to go in live, because right now industry especially paranoid regarding security and scary about not just rug pulls from different founders, but also from security perspective. And over the last years, we've seen a lot of hacks, especially in DeFi space. And for me as a founder, security audit is the most important part.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you can kind of see across the industry what's happening, and that just means it's really front and center because no one wants to be that next news story. And Cristiano, how about you? What is Levery? What are you all working on, and how did you kind of come into the audit story for yourself in Levery?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Super pleasure to be here. It's amazing to join this session with partners like Uniswap, partners like Areta and Atrium, and your project born inside that ecosystem. So it's amazing to be here and contribute to this talk today. I'm Cristiano. I'm co-founder and CEO at Levery. Levery is a white label DEX as a service infrastructure built for regulated financial institutions. So we are in the different spaces trying to bring a real DeFi solution and deliver a ready-to-use solution for that financial institution. So we try to connect these different words. And so in the terms of security, compliance, treasury management, and a lot of stuff we need to take care, I think, and more aspects compared to other crypto projects and complexity, and also so security is a huge point for us to deliver the product for our clients. So the project's born think about audit all time, because for bringing the regulated financial institutions to work with DeFi, basically we need to meet the regulation requirements, but also pass through the checklist from the compliance teams for financial institutions, governance teams, security teams, risk teams. So we have a lot of steps to put our solution and production inside the one financial institution. And we have to think about all the aspects and vulnerabilities that we can have on chain, like AMM protocol. So Levery is built on top of Uniswap, but Levery is a protocol that have a compliant layer and governance controls for institutions can launch, and they all digital platforms for that market. So yes, the project born with audit, think for day zero, for example, in our case.
Yeah, so like you knew that you just couldn't actually get anybody on board without having the audit in place. And actually, maybe I'll kind of go in reverse order. Cristiano, is this the first time when you went through your audit with Levery? Was that the first time you'd gone through a security audit for a DeFi project?
Yeah, we have worked with financial institutions on the blockchain space in my old company. So before I start Levery, I realized that I need think about audit and security and overall from the day zero, right? And the challenges here is how you be the audit, how we prepare the documentation for architecture design to be easy to keep this audit going during this evolution of the product. So we are thinking audit for levels and steps at the project, because if you try cover everything from the beginning of the project, maybe it's very expensive and you cannot have the correct timing. So I think the challenge here is to define the priorities and the main vulnerabilities for the V1 for that project, right? But for us, we realized that we need to audit and security checks and verifications before we start the project, right? So for us, it's very clear. It's a huge critical stuff that we can take time and take budget and take your attentions to make sure that banks can work security inside our platform, and for sure the bank's clients, the final user, can use that, right?
Yeah, and so it sounds like you were sort of starting to think about the trade-offs, like what's the biggest place you need to start and how do you do it in sequence? And a question for any of the three of you, so you need an audit. As a founder, as a CEO, or kind of the lead on this, how are you thinking about balancing the aspects of like everything has a different price? Which provider do you use? Like, how do you structure the audit process? And I'm curious from any of you, like, how did you tackle that as you got started?
Yeah. Can I start? Or you got
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for the big concerns, and I think the scope for the right components and critical flows that we decide to audit. And one thing that I realized to have a estimate and for choose a provider, we need to make clear that what we are creating and what the more critical aspects the audit need to cover. So the audit is not cheaper, but and we need to make clear for the auditors that where they need to take a look and they need to put their attention, because if you deliver a confused design or a not very well documented project, then you take a lot of time if you're audit to on staff the documenting and try to understand your project. And Uniswap hooks in my vision is a complex product, right? For itself, and you put a lot of outer layers of complexity on top of that. So we have a lot of paths to vulnerability. So we need to decide very well and documentate everything to help the auditors understand the design and projects faster and understand what you're trying to do. And after that, I think it's a good to have the feedback for the auditors, understanding how they believe that you need to cover the timeline and things like that. Areta helped us a lot with this choice. We gave budget for 10 providers, and we have more than 300% variation of the minimum price and the max price. So we have a different nuance for that. It's hard to decide in one. But in your case, we decide that giving us more structured estimate for the product, and in your case, we cover also for more verification. It's a whole aspect that audits can be more secure and check invariants and things like that. So if I can resume that in one sentence, I think documentate very well your project and make the design clear for the auditors can understand that fast as possible. Yeah,
that is a great tip. So like, how do you make it? And that's true just in general when writing code, right? Like document it well. And I heard you say there was kind of a range of different prices. I'm curious, Brian, maybe I'll direct this one towards you. I think this is a problem in general. There's a lot of different options. I'm curious, how did you decide what the right auditor was for GammaStrategies, and what kind of trade-offs were you thinking about?
Yeah, I have sort of a lot of opinions on this, but I like the audits where there's a lot more people involved. Like, I think most standard audits is you have two persons on your audit. And, we had a situation where, we went with the audit company, we had two people, and then one person was located in Ukraine, and then the Ukraine war happened. And then all of a sudden we just had only one person on the audit, and it was a bit of a compromised audit. So I like it when there's a lot more people on the audit. Or honestly, that was probably the fault of the audit company. They probably should have informed us in advance. They didn't, but it is what it is. And so I really like Guardian audits. They have 4 people on each assignment by default. And well, it's more than 4. It's 4 people actively looking for bugs. And they have 1 person doing formal invariance analysis and fuzz testing. So those are a given each time. So I really like having that. Additionally, I think some of the better audits that we've had, like if there is a vulnerability, a big vulnerability, they always provide a proof of concept, or they'll have some Foundry script where you could run in and you can say, oh, that's an actual real bug. Whereas we've had other audits in the past where it was like very theoretical. Oh, you know what? Maybe you guys shouldn't mint a pool price because it just doesn't sound safe or something like that. And we're like, well, you got to show us, like, how is this actually being exploited? And so the more theoretical ones, I'm not a real big fan of. The ones that have more people on it that actually find the bugs and actually prove out the vulnerability are the ones that we like. And, I think Guardian's really good with that. We've had pretty good crowdsourced audits. I know a lot of people don't like Cantina, but we actually had a pretty good experience with Cantina and Sherlock. And we try to stay away from the ones where it's very, very traditional, old school. We have 2 people on your audit assignment, and those are the ones we try to stay away from.
Amazing. And it sounds like you've really had exposure to a lot of options, but that's super smart. So it's like more voices, like more eyes, more people on the provide coverage. And I think that other tip of really trying to make sure you're getting as practical feedback as possible sounds really
absolutely.
Yevhen, I'm curious from your perspective, was this your first audit experience, and how did you go about what you were trading off? What did you find confusing, straightforward?
Yeah, it was my first audit. When we started to build Lumis Vault, it was our first technical audit, and I'm not a technical founder in this company, so for us it was also a new challenge, because when we've been participating in the first Areta marketplace, it was very first just launched batch, and it was 1 year ago when Uniswap 4 just launched, and there was so small experience with hooks in the market that we've been kind of concerned about which auditor to go with. Because as Cristiano said, variety of prices was very big. Like the cheapest one was, like the range was from 10 to 150K, like really big range. And they all provided with a different kind of expertise. For example, companies can provide you with more like a technical security line by line, but you understand in process of line by line audit, they're not that deep into the actual logic and potential vulnerabilities. They just cover in general logic, or maybe it's a competition-based audit from some auditors. Or like formal verification, and you need to decide what is a priority for you. But also, when you start to build a project and you think in mind about audit, it's a trade-off between building your code base as compact as possible or be as simple as possible, because most of the auditors, they're charging per line of codes. So it can be a very dense code base, which is unreadable, but it will be cheaper for some reason. Or if it can be like 3000 K line code, but it will be much easier to understand and more efficient, but it will be much higher in cost. So for us as a founders, when we started, there was no Areta, so for us it was, we need to build it as compact as possible to be as efficient as possible. But Atrium and Areta were helped us a lot in conducting this audit. And the value of this marketplace was really big for us, because you can communicate with each of the auditors in one place and receive quotes in transparent way, rather than guessing around, because every auditor is asking what is the competition price, what is the median, how we can provide you something better. And this competition actually drive better service for us as a early stage founders, where we're looking for highest quality for the smallest amount of money.
Amazing. Yeah. So like really trying to figure out how to optimize what you're paying for and doing that price comparison. And Nihar, I'm curious from your perspective, having seen a lot of audits and supported teams going through audits, what do you think people should be thinking as they try to make these trade-offs or make a decision about what company to go with?
Yeah, sure. So one of the key thing which we have understood over the period of time is that, as Cristiano also mentioned, right, like try to find the team who has a previous experience in the similar mechanism, similar code base, similar vertical to what your project and your code base looks like. I like to go even one step further to it, which is like, okay, saying I will directly ask to the particular provider, which are the security researchers they're gonna staff for the particular audit. Because it's just not the security provider's reputation, it also matters on which particular researcher is getting staffed on your audit. If that particular researcher has a strong background in a particular similar code base, that's a very healthy sign. And that also a sign of confidence that, okay, you can have, you can believe that these security researchers who have been staffed will do a good job. They with their sufficiently enough previous experience in the similar code bases. Another part here is to really understand what your project really needs, at what depth you want to go into particular aspects of your code base. So for example, do you specifically need a formal verification or first testing? If yes, our security providers are including that as a direct offer in that particular offer, right? I will also try to see, as Brian also mentioned, how many security providers are they staffing versus what the cost is. Particularly having this direct comparison, where experience of a security provider which is on the project, plus number of the security providers, plus what the cost of that security audit is going to look like. If we compare these three simultaneously for our multiple offers, I think that's the best way to come to the particular security offer, which is the most optimized one. So it's really is like a very technical process to even get to the right provider. The biggest suggestion here is like never rush through the conversations. Even if, let's say, it takes a week more, it's fine. If you are in talk with, let's say, 10 different security providers, always try to understand the maximum from them before you start your audit. Clear all your questions, all your doubts before we are proceeding to the final of accepting like any particular offer. That really helps. Even if it takes one more week, I think that is fine, because this is like the first crucial security audit before your mainnet launch, and you really don't want to compromise with the standards as well as the experience you're gonna get for your first security audit. So I think that is all in all very much needed.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Well, if I could just add on to that, you could also ask them like how the auditors themselves are compensated, because I think that really matters. Because with Guardian, they get compensated per vulnerability that they find and the severity of it. So you see when you see the vulnerabilities come in, it's all the way to the end, literally to the end of the audit week. You see people just trying to get in bugs, and sometimes you get some bad ones, but you kind of want to have that dynamic. Whereas you should ask them if they're just simply W-2 salaried employees, because they're usually, I wouldn't want to say that they're always less, but a lot of times they're less motivated, or they have like auditors can make a lot of money many different ways. They're working on bug bounties, they're working for companies, they're also working on different audit competitions. So if they're purely just getting a salary, they're guaranteed money for it, and if no matter how good of a job they do, they're going to get the same money for that particular assignment, then it may not be as good of an audit. So I think how they're compensated is another valid question you should probably ask the auditors.
Yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. It's around kind of like, what's the motivation look like? And Brian, since you jumped in, I would love to just transition us to like what the audit experience looks like while it's happening. And so you mentioned kind of you're hearing from them as they're finding bugs, but how collaborative, like adversarial, what does the communication look like with these companies as they're going through audits?
Yeah, so we've been through quite a few. I think the ones that are not good that we've had were the super traditional, we're going to put two people on your audit. Like a lot of times we'll have one initial call and then I won't hear from them for like 3-4 days, maybe a week. And then they'll post some theoretical findings and then we'll have a debate about it. The better ones, I think, are the ones where, like Guardian posts a Notion board, they have vulnerabilities posted in real time with proof of concepts, descriptions, and same with Cantina, same with Sherlock. I like having the real time feedback. You could talk to the auditors in real time. Those are the ones where you're really engaging with the auditors. Sometimes they'll ask you questions. Sometimes they may go down a rabbit hole that you kind of don't want them to go down to, because they may have some wrong assumptions about your code base, or they'll think this will happen, but it will never happen. So yeah, I think having that dialogue throughout the audit is 100% better. Just in terms of our experience, I think we've gone through like 5-6 audits now, and those are typically the best ones that we've had.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like getting to see in real time what they're finding, so you can have a conversation about it as it's coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cristiano, I'm curious, what was your audit experience like? Like what was the communication like? What was the back and forth for you and your team?
Of course, yeah. We did our audit with a company called Runtime Verification. It's a Chicago-based company. And that's the process was like 4 week and a half. And basically we divide that in some steps. It was a very collaborative project, because runtime verifications had a platform and provide us access for a platform where you can basically follow the findings. And also at the same time, they bring one specialist to the team focused on formal verification and about the checking invariants and that type and design aspects of the project, and other auditors more focused on the line-by-line code. They also bring a possibility to bring an AI check too inside the code base. So basically, we divide the audit in some steps. The first week was focused on basically understanding the design of the project, and basically they bring a lot of questions for us to make sure the design, the intent of the project, but also the where we think that it would be more important to have a focus in some functions or some aspects of the smart contract. So it's a very collaborative process, and we understand we learn a lot at this project, because they bring some questions that make us to think about how we can improve your product to the future. So I think the auditor's question is good for us to bring a outside vision for the company to add some value for our product itself. And yeah, so it's basically on 1 week focus on that, and we had 1 and 2 or 2 meetings per week. One focus on and review and basically the update about the findings, some concern or questions that the auditors team have about the project, or some suggestions or clarifying some aspects. And the other one is based on basically a resume overall about the findings and the next steps and things like that. So yeah, in general, it was very collaborative project. It's not look like you deliver a link of your GitHub project, and after 4 weeks you have the report. Basically, we have worked week by week during this 4 week and a half. And basically, we decided together. It's and it goes about the several level of the findings. It's a false positive or not. So it's for us it was a very collaborative project. It's like we have one team helping us and basically on a weekly basis to help improve our projects. The final of that all that project, we had logically a report, and also they bring us some remediation time to basically update and fix the findings and something like that. And after I think after 30 days of the final of the audit, we had the final report. So the process overall, if you starting for coding and understand about the proposal of the project, for the final report, it takes like 3 months. So we have a lot of work to have that done, right? The audit process, in our case, 4 weeks and a half, and basically 4 weeks to remediation period too. So they bring us 3 full-time professionals during the audit period. And yeah, we are very happy with that work. Audit is never... we never have the it's done, right? We always that keeping and checking things and improving that. But yeah, I think it was a good journey, and I'm very happy with the runtime verification results.
Amazing. So it sounds like for you with runtime verification, also just the structure of the way that there were specific meetings for specific focus, and the way that they moved you through the process was helpful. And I heard you say that there were almost these aha moments. Yevhen, I'm going to pull it back to you. I'm curious, your audit experience, and also, did you have any of those moments of like, oh, we didn't even know we needed to think about this, or you caught something you weren't focused on?
Yeah, definitely. Because in our case, our audit was very productive, and during the audit, one of the services that auditors provided was gas optimization. Because we decided to go with ABDK, which is one of the auditors of Uniswap V4, and they worked previously with a lot of DeFi teams. They know a lot about gas optimization and architecture optimization. So, and they provided an extremely detailed report of, I don't quite remember how many pages, but probably more than 50, about all the smallest details. Like, they were very detailed oriented, which is definitely was a valuable experience for us. And we found a lot of new moments where we've been thinking, like, we didn't even think about that we can do it in a different way and optimize it this much, which is definitely was very valuable for us. But on the other side, you need to be prepared that audit will take quite a long time. Even though that you have, let's say, the standard 2 weeks of classic audit, but after that you also need to do your fixes, which can take unexpectedly long time, and it depends on, like, I heard stories that some projects received the first audit, and before the actual remediation fixes, like submitted for the final audit, they completely rewrite their code base, because audit find for them that there's so much bugs that they decided to rewrite it from scratch. And this is a very typical situation, to be honest. And yeah, so you need to, for me, as an advice to new founders who just thinking about the audit, you need to be prepared that it will take quite a long time, and you need to document as much as possible your code so external auditors can understand what is your project about and where is the potential vulnerabilities. Because maybe 1 year ago, AI agents was not that popular and strong, but right now we almost on a daily basis can see that AI found some vulnerabilities and win big contests just because of agents. I'm not promoting to rely fully on agents, but rather promoting to use all the tools that you can for actual preparation for audit. You need to treat auditors like the very last step.
Yeah. And I know we've had some past events with folks who are optimizing for how AI can help you kind of find vulnerabilities. But yeah, so I think that's a really good call out of, like, you think you know how long your audit's going to take. You really don't. Being prepared for it to take a lot longer, especially with the fixes. But once the audit process is over and your fixes are in place, I'm curious, like, what comes next? Is there some big triumphant moment? And Brian, I'll bring it back to you. Kind of, you've been through a lot of audits. Is it something you're communicating out? Is it just something that's kind of a part of a normal process? Or how do you think about, like, once the audit's done, what happens then?
I think it really depends if what findings that we find in the audit. If we find quite a few highs or criticals, then we'll probably get a second one. Typically, we'll just crowdsource the second one after all the initial ones have been solved. Let's say if we're done with the second one, then a lot of times the crowdsource one won't really find much, and which was the case with our limit order hook. We had a couple highs or a few highs, and then we did a crowdsource one, and there was just like 1 or 2 lows or medium lows, and we're like, okay, now we're pretty confident. And so yeah, at that point we just went live. We just went live with our live into production on front end, did our marketing, did our announcements of the audits, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so it's sort of like you're making that trade-off call of, like, or do we feel like we can go live based on what we heard back, and then moving from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm curious, Cristiano, you talked a little bit about this, but from your side, like, working with financial institutions, did you sort of have to communicate this out to them, or how did you package up the results? And did you need to communicate out to partners, potential investors?
Yes, of course. One thing is very important for us. It is to pass this confidence for our clients, because financial institutions are super regulated businesses, and security. I think the most important thing that you look for consider work with your solution inside their framework and their tools, right? So audit is very a point of attending point for our project, because basically you can validate that and make more comfortable and the security side for your product. So and also you can pass this security feeling for that institutions, right? So we take some actions about that. For example, we created one video, a presentation video about the product. We basically we are featuring our audit approach and how we did that. Bring the credentials for our auditors, for people like Uniswap Foundation, Areta, and Atrium to help us on the process, because I think that the most important thing that the one project, one DeFi project working with financial institutions, it be serious about the technology and research capability and security, very well done, architecture and things like that. When one institution realize that you are a serious project, take care about of all that aspects, they have some risk appetite to work with you, right? So we knowing that for our last project, we tried to create that like a one Levery playbook to how we can present our security advantages. Sometimes it's hard to early stage projects because you have some limited budget for something. So we need to be creative and like prioritize the most important for that. So we have some. I think we are successful to put that level of importance to audit and feature that for commercial approach like partnerships that we already have signed. So yeah, I think the journey is going very well, and audit is a very important component of that progress. Right. So, yeah, I talk about audit and our reports and things like that all the time.
Yeah. So it sounds like you took one of the tenets of, Atrium and the Uniswap Hook Incubator of build in public and turned your audit into content and into marketing as well as just security focus. Yeah, and I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but for folks watching, we will have a little bit of time, I think, to take any questions. If you have questions for Brian, Yevhen, Cristiano, or Nihar, so please drop them into the chat in either YouTube or Twitter, and happy to take questions if you have them. But while I make that small plug, Yevhen, I'm curious from your side to hear kind of, you went through the audit. It took longer maybe than you thought, but you made it through the other side. How did you leverage it? Are you, what did you find you started to do after, if anything?
Yeah, definitely. Audit is also very important important to communicate with your potential clients, investors, in general users, because as I mentioned previously, DeFi is very skeptical. People in DeFi are very skeptical about new products. And for you to go live, you essentially need to have an audit, so other clients can treat you seriously, not just a pet project, but really seriously. And but also, even if you have audit, your clients, like really serious clients, will see how successful you are from security perspective. For them, it's not that important that they might lose money from your performance of your product, but it will be much important if they can lose their money from just security hack. So they would like to make this launch as gradual as possible, like starting from private betas, private mainnets, just to guard as much as possible and gradually go live into fully permissionless mode. To see that even after, let's say, 6 months, everything is good. Because, like as I said, clients are very skeptical about the security. And this is really big. And we are communicating with all of the clients about these security improvements, security audits. And yeah, for them, it's very important. Like probably the first thing that they would like to check from technical perspective is who your auditor and how much critical you have. And only after that, they might start to look into your docs, starting to understand how you actually work and is it worth to actually use you.
Yeah. So it sounds like for you, it's sort of like table stakes to getting into any of these conversations is being able to show that you were audited. It's another, valuable reason to go through the audit process other than, and I think I've heard from all of you really that it's like, you just can't be trying to launch something, trying to run a company and not have done a security audit when you have a DeFi product at this stage of
it's
where
no
we are.
longer DeFi summer. It's not 2020. Audience became much more sophisticated, much more educated, and they are really dig into your product, trying to understand your product. And also, for example, if we're talking about fundraising, it's also important for investors. What auditors did you choose? And because they know everybody in the space, they also can decide how good your decision was, because there is a lot of different perspectives on different teams and what they are best for. So it's a lot of communication game.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's some proof of what you've done. So I want to do kind of a quick little lightning round as we're starting to get towards the end of our conversation. So for all four of you, 3 questions. The first one, what's one thing you'd tell a team preparing for their first audit? And Nihar, I'll start with you.
Yep, sure. So it's kind of entire journey from like very first day you started building your project from a very scratch, right? Nowadays, since we had the hooks or Uniswap V4 has been there for a long time now. A lot of resources, a lot of the vulnerability which has been found in the previous hacks or through the previous audits is like publicly available on the internet, right? While you are in a process of designing your project and writing the smart contracts, go through them, see if any of the similar functions your project also has, which is comparable to the previously found vulnerabilities. If yes, maybe try and test out and see if that is the similar, like if your design choices or your code also introduce like similar set of vulnerabilities, possibly try to mitigate it early. Second, as I mentioned, when you're going through the security process, take your time. I think the worst thing as a team anybody can do is to rush through the security process. A secure launch done 2 weeks later is much more better than rushing through and possibly launching 2 weeks, because I think it's not going to matter a lot. But protocol hack is definitely going to matter a lot, and after that it's going to be a step battle, which you probably don't want to fight. Third, treat your security providers or the auditor which you are working as your clear partner in this journey. Whatever they recommend after the audit, whatever they recommend to do, just focus on that. um, completely 100% try to cover whatever, like even the smallest findings as well as even the smallest suggestions, even if it feels irrelevant for now. It might become a very prompt, very prominent in like coming time. So just do what your security provider has suggested, and trust me, they also have like very best interest of you as well as their own. Because if you are getting hacked, even they are in trouble. So they are trying their best to secure your project, best to follow their advice at that time as well. The last part is, this is a continuous process. The first audit doesn't really make it sure that it's going to be flawless for the longest period of time. With every passing month or passing year, we have a new vulnerabilities which is coming out. um, it's very highly likely possible that your code base, which was audited, let's say a year ago, has a vulnerability which came out possibly 3 months ago from a different security hack or security research. So it's a continuous process. Always try to have a look at your code base from the recent hacks. Try to learn through it. Try to mitigate any try to mitigate if any of those findings are super relevant to your projects. If possible, have a recurring audits at a later stage as well, and consider the security as like a process which is like ever evolving, ever continuous, and so utmost importance. So that is like the well-rounded suggestions from my side.
That makes sense. And before we kind of move on, I did get one question in from somebody watching. I'll drop it up here. So I think actually this isn't really an ideal question for the folks in this room who aren't actually auditors but have been audited. But I thought I would just throw it up here and see from your all's perspective as you were going through the audit. What were what were they finding in terms of vulnerabilities, and like what did you see from your own audits? And Brian, I'll kick it over to you to start.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on what your protocol is. I would say that just talking from like if you're building a vault, a user vault, probably and a vault where multiple people can deposit into. I think the biggest thing you got to worry about is flash loan risk, because you could get everything hacked in one transaction. So sometimes that's Oracle price manipulation risk. It could also be liquidation logic. So common. I think probably common vulnerability might be some small thing, but like a big vulnerability where you could get everything rugged is probably something where they could use a flash loan. And yeah, it's hard. It's kind of hard to answer, but I would just, really just look out for the ones where they could just in one transaction take all your money. That's really the thing you need to watch out for.
Agreed. Yevhen or Cristiano, I don't know if you want to weigh in as well in terms of like what you saw from your own audits.
I would add precision loss. Beside of this, Oracle or liquidation margin panel finding bugs, which is typical, but I would like to add also precision loss, which is a typical problem with Uniswap P4, and multiple hooks were hacked because of precision loss, and this is a typical problem in DeFi right now, which is more like a solidity issues. But anyway, you need to make sure that your precision is good and solid, even against the craziest edge case because of flash loan. You need to be prepared that your, for example, share price of your vault might go up hundreds or thousand times in 1 second, and you need to make sure that you're not going to lose money. Because of just one way precision. And this is a typical situation. So make sure that your mass is solid and you are rounding in the correct direction.
So true. Cristiano, anything to add there?
Yeah. In my perspective, I look to try to cover most as possible authorization movements, like in case of AMM protocol, like hooks on, for example, interactions with routers, and also position managers. If you try to create your own or solution or customize router or position managers, you need to take care about that interactions and also about the authorizations. I think it's very important. And sometimes people try to put some amazing gas optimizations and some stylized codes for that. But sometimes you open new vectors for attackers, right? So in my perspective, you need to keep your project more simple as possible, because if your code base is simple and effective, also efficient, you can have success, and easy to auditors understand that, because if you bring a lot of code lines and audit take 2 weeks to understand that, have no more time to check the security, right? They think all the time to try to understand that your architecture and your design. So I think they keep the design simple. It will be easier to try to simplify and it removes some attack vectors of your project.
Amazing. Yeah, I think simple whenever possible. Just looking at time, I want to give each of you the opportunity just to do a little bit of log rolling if you'd like. I'm curious, what is your 2026 look like? What are you working towards? And Brian, I'll start with you. What's GammaStrategies up to for 2026?
Yeah, we're actually launching our V2 vaults next week, hopefully next week. Essentially, this is one user, one vault. So hopefully eliminate all flash loan risk. It's permissionless liquidity management, any pair. You choose the strategy, you choose the range, you choose the shape. It's open for, you could either use our relayers, you could use your own relayer, you could use OpenClaw. It's supposed to be the most decentralized liquidity management platform. We're trying to get away from, our V1 vault is we have the strategy, you're in a pooled position with other users. V2, we're moving everything to the user. You deploy your own vault, your own strategy, your own pair, your own relayer, and your own strategies. And we're excited to launch that hopefully in about a week.
Yeah, that is super exciting. Congratulations on that upcoming launch.
Thank you.
And Yevhen, what about for Lumis? What's 2026 got?
As for Lumis, we've been in Uniswap space for quite a long time, and we also realized about problems of yield volatility, and we're building new solutions about how to make yields more stable and predictable via custom mechanics using hooks. And we are about to finishing our code for this new product. And also in general, we prepare thinking about more how to live in this new agentic world, how we can be more friendly to different agents, for example, similar to how Uniswap released the API for big customization and composability. In similar way, we're also thinking how we can be helpful with this new kind of distribution form, because previously it was mostly about just humans, but also right now we need to think about agents. And back to Nihar's point about comparing your typical functions in your code against previous findings. Right now, you can multiple auditors have their repository with the common findings, and you can just run their agents against your code base, and it will very quickly find potentially critical vulnerabilities that were found in other projects, especially Uniswap project over the last year. So this is my suggestion for fellow builders.
That makes a ton of sense. And yeah, I think everybody's trying to figure out how they function in an agentic forward world. And some of it can help, like with how you can kind of minimize your audit coverage or like your need for audits by finding stuff in advance. Cristiano, what's 2026 got in store for Levery?
Yeah, for us, it's an exciting moment because I think we are moving for the development phase to go-to-market phase. So we are onboarding the institutional clients. We realize have a good adoption here in Brazil and Latin America that we are working right now. And how Levery is basically the smart contract is one component of the project, but like we deliver the full solution for a bank or financial institution that include the backend, API, indexers, front end, and other oracles and other things. And we package that like, and today we have a sandbox environment where our clients can test and understand the solution. And we also have basically a containerized environment like Docker for Kubernetes, for everything. So we packaged everything, and we did success to deliver that for some clients. So we are basically on the go-to-market mode, and I think it's amazing for us, an excited moment to bring more institutions to work with us.
Amazing. And congratulations on hitting that next stage of go-to-market. We're basically at time, but Nihar, for Areta, I know the next Uniswap Foundation Security Fund application closes, I think, March 7th. Is that right? Anything you want folks to know?
Yep, that's 100% true. Folks, the teams who are building on the Uniswap, the next cohort is closing on March 7th. Reach out to me on the Telegram if you have any questions. It's Nihar_T. You can just reach out to me with any of your question. If not, you can apply via the application form from on the areta.market, as well as you can ask me directly for the application form. And yeah, looking forward to your application. Happy to help on any questions you have moving forward.
Yeah. And then I will say, just from our side, if you want to be as incredibly cool as Brian, Yevhen, Cristiano, we are currently enrolling students into our next Uniswap Hook Incubator, which is a free program run in collaboration with Uniswap to offer training around how to actually build V4 hooks and ideally be able to launch a company and need a security audit at some point in time in the future. So a huge thank you, Brian, Yevhen, Cristiano, Nihar, for your time today. I think really useful conversation, and your practical experience hopefully gives some other folks a little bit better preparation coming into their own audit. But thank you again for your time, and hopefully this was useful to the folks who are watching.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too.
Bye, everyone.